Hey, and welcome back. Okay, so today's episode, I'm going to dive right into it because I'm genuinely so excited about this because I'm about to not only save you hours per week, but also myself. And with the kid on the way, this is very important, right? So here's what happened. I have been working with my amazing women in my mastermind. And I've also, for the last year and some months, been using ChatGPT for all things AI, right? My show notes, my helping me with episode titles, writing YouTube descriptions, like all of the things. But as I was working in my mastermind, I was kind of hearing the same thing. People were getting a little frustrated and a little fed up with ChatGPT. And they wanted to know, like, yes, we know how to use AI to support us in our tasks, to make us move quicker through, not only getting an episode out into the world, but all the assets that come with marketing that specific episode. So a few things that got me really excited about this. First of all, I decided to make a switch from ChatGPT to Claude. It has been life-changing. I specifically just find that for my business, especially when it's so content heavy, Claude gets me better. And I think one thing that keeps everybody, because I'm hearing this from my mastermind women, keeps everybody from making the big transition from ChatGPT to Claude is that you've been in ChatGPT, you've trained it, and it feels overwhelming to go from one AI platform to the other. But here's what I will share with you, my personal experience. I'm not trying to, persuade you to go over there or anything, but it's just genuine. I took half an hour. I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to train Claude in my business. I want it to know my voice. I'm going to test it, right? Let's play. Let's see if this is all that and a bag of chips that I've been hearing from a few of my clients who just have been using Claude for a long time and love it. So I sat down and I basically asked ChatGPT, like, summarize everything you know about me that's important, my business, all the things, right? And then I went over to Claude. I took that summary, I inputted it. I do have like a brand doc that explains who my ideal customers are. It explains my offers. It has, a little bit of my voice and those types of things. So I uploaded that as well. I uploaded my podcast. I uploaded my website. I uploaded a few of my best performing newsletters and trying to think. I think that was pretty much like all the things that I uploaded. And I said, I want to train you for business. And so I uploaded all these things and I said, what else do you need from me? And it kind of walked me through like a few other things to get it set up really well. And I was like, okay, is this going to work? And I will tell you what, it learned my voice so much quicker than ChatGPT ever did. I feel like ChatGPT flubs up and gets my voice and my templates and everything wrong kind of time and time again. And I was just kind of getting fed up with it. It was really laggy. So anyways, I made the hop to Claude. And at that same time, I was putting my quiz together. So I was like, okay, this will be a good way to test it out and see. So I used it for my quiz creation and it blew me out of the water. I mean, it gave me basically the website page design that I could either code and then drop into my website very easily, or just take it as inspiration and then go and design on my own. So anyways, I am really fired up. I think that it has a better understanding of like my voice and it hits it a little bit more. It remembers my templates better, which was such a big frustration with ChatGPT. I felt like I always had to go back and remind it, remember, this is the template I like to use for my show notes or my newsletter or things like that. It's gone above and beyond. So I genuinely want to say that for those of you who might be feeling like ChatGPT's been meh for the things that you use it for, or somebody who has a really content heavy business, which I think a lot of you in my audience do, just between, having a podcast and then repurposing the podcast into all these different assets and promotional content pieces, right? So that's the first piece. The second piece is it just got me really excited about AI again. Like I felt like I was kind of getting bored with it. And so Claude has given me kind of a new excitement around how to use it and testing it out. So all of that to say is I know because I've been chatting with my mastermind women, and a lot of them have very similar struggles or pain points or wants, desires as you do, right? You're all podcasters and you all want to make your time, the most of your time. You want to be efficient, but you also don't want to just like let the robots take over, but you want to figure out like, what's the balance? Where's the balance where I can literally love what I'm doing and continue to not only record, but grow my podcast and then get it out into the world without me literally having to do everything, but also without it being like, oh, the AI robots have written all this or have created all of this for insert your name, right? So what I want to talk about today, and I'm really excited about it, is kind of this idea of what if instead of having AI only, you had more of like a marketing assistant for your podcast and they got your brand. And when I started thinking in this way, I feel like it changed a lot of things. And so I want to walk you through 5 podcast marketing tasks that I'll never do manually again, but how you can also start to optimize, because I have a feeling many of you are already using AI for a couple of these things, but I want to take it a step further and I want to really walk you through how to do it in the most efficient way, in the best way, and how to really almost enjoy it, right? Have fun with it. And when you get something spit back from whatever AI platform you choose, you feel really fired up. You don't feel like, oh my gosh, this sounds like every other AI written thing out there, right? We want it to feel personal. We want it to feel very on brand for you so that you don't have to go back and rewrite it all. All right. So let's talk about it. All right. So task 1, writing SEO-friendly blog style show notes. All right. So I had a conversation, and I want to be clear when I'm talking about blog style show notes versus show notes. So we all have show notes that we put into our hosting platform, right? And those get spit out to Apple, Spotify, all of the listening platforms. And they're a little bit shorter. They're truncated, which obviously we want to use AI to write those. Or if you are in something like Descript, Cast Magic, or Riverside, like they give you an option for these shorter truncated show notes that you can then put on your hosting platform. But I'm talking about on your website having blog style show notes that are very SEO friendly, that help to spit out your podcast and your website and your blog to people who are asking questions that you are answering. So I had a conversation in my mastermind yesterday about this because somebody said, but what's the point? Like, why are we writing these? Because it's another way when we're going to the effort to record an episode, it is another way to get your website indexed, right? This is a ton of content you're already working on. Use AI to support you in creating these longer, fleshed out, readable blog style show notes that feed the algorithm and, make the bots happy, and help to index your website so that when somebody searches, how do I write SEO friendly show notes? I come up, right? My blog comes up, but inside of my blog, it's really a reflection of the podcast episode. And now what I'm doing is I'm giving my audience, literally, they can read the blog if they want. They can listen to the episode. I have it linked up to Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. They can watch the video too, right? So see why these can be so powerful and so important. Jenna Kutcher has done a beautiful job of this over the years. I mean, she has a huge blog that is filled with all of her podcast episodes, but it's written in blog style. And trust me, it works. Listen to anything Duo Collective talks about, right? Those women are brilliant, and they talk all about SEO and ranking and how in a world where AI is indexing web pages and looking for answers for people asking questions, you want to be there. You want to be in that, right? You don't want to just be podcasting. Of course we do, but you don't want to just be doing audio and then leaving it there, right? So we want to do blog style, SEO friendly show notes. So the cool thing is that if you have the right template, which you guys can, if you work with me, you get it, right? You can also go to podcastmarketinghub.com/playbook, and I will give you a template that kind of walks you through how to write these show notes, because there are certain things that go into it. It's not the short truncated show notes that you are putting on your hosting platform to spit out to the listening platforms. It's something different, right? Because we want to be doing things that are going to make, the bots happy, like using headers and paragraphs and bullets and things like that and images. So I also dive into this further on episode 4. So going way back, but it was one of the first episodes and it's still one of the most popular, how to write SEO-friendly blog style show notes. But when you get a template that has these sections, it shows you where to have headers, where to have your timestamps, where to have your summary of the content, and then how to lay it out in a way that is not only very consumable, right? So we can sit down and read a blog post like it's a blog post, not like it's a truncated, really short version of what this episode is about, but actually giving them. So if somebody didn't want to listen to the podcast episode, they could just read your blog post. That's what we want to do here. So we want to use AI. We want to train our AI to always refer back to this template, right? Because then all you have to do is drop in the transcript, drop in the template if it already hasn't been memorized in your AI platform, and say, give me blog style show notes that are SEO friendly for this episode. And then it's going to give you it so quickly, so clearly. And of course, because AI knows what's working for SEO, long tail keywords, short tail keywords, all of those things, phrases people are searching, it's going to help to spit out these blog style show notes that are not only going to help you with SEO, but they're also going to be consumable by anybody who lands on that blog, right? And we love to get people to our website. Why? Because they can get to know us. They can get to see our offers. We can get them on our email list. There's so much benefit to showing up in the search platforms with a blog. And then, oh, by the way, there's also maybe a player. So that is a really simple way to take it a step further and repurpose your content, not only as short, truncated show notes on the hosting platform, but on your website. And when you get this into the flow, it is so quick and easy. It really, really is. So what's important here is that you have a template. You prompt the AI to create SEO optimized blog style show notes that are warm and conversational, but still informational. And then use that every time, right? We go back to that every time. And then we're using the headers and things like that. But you want to plop that into whatever AI you're using and make sure that it's trained in that way so that every week when you have a new episode, you drop it in, it knows the template, it gives you those, you upload them, boom, you're done. Okay. So this next one is such a good strategy, and that is using AI to analyze what you have going on for your podcast and then using that to personalize it, to learn, to find guests, all the things. So how do we do this? Well, I want you to sit down with AI, with your AI buddy. And I know a lot of you name them. So go ahead, name them if you haven't, or it. And you want to, start by taking your podcast name. Okay. So you're going to input podcast name. If you have a tagline, take your description, plop it in there. Take your top 5 performing episodes, put them in there. Your bottom 5 performing episodes, drop those in there. Identify or share just a brief summary about who your ideal listener or client is. And then ask AI to analyze it and say, what can I be doing to grow my podcast? What are some podcasts I should get on based on everything that I've shared with you here? Who are some guests that I should bring onto my show based on everything I have here? What am I missing here? And what are people wanting, right? So you can be asking these questions, give it all that you have and say, what am I missing here, right? What can I be doing better? Also, what are some podcast episodes that my ideal listener would be looking for based on all of the information you have? That's why we give it our top performing and our bottom performing. It might come back and say, I've analyzed your podcast and your guest episodes don't do that well. So do more solo episodes, more teaching episodes, or things like that, right? It can give you so much. And again, this is a great way to train our AI to know so much about our podcast so that when we do come and ask for, episode titles and things like that, it can really help us. Okay, so task number 3, writing your weekly newsletter. So I say weekly, but truly, if you're in my world, you know that I say if you can send even 2 a month every other week, great. The goal is definitely to get to 1 a week. I think that there's something really special about touching base with your people every week, so long as you do it right. But even if you need to do it once a month, that's okay. But here's the cool thing. We are now in a season of these lifestyle newsletters that I've talked about before if you've been in my world. And so those really encompass so much more than just the podcast episode that you may have dropped that week, right? And so we want to not only give them a glimpse into maybe something personal. Now, it doesn't need to be like personal about your family or something. It can be something personal about your business or even you as a even something that happened in the podcasting world to you or something. But what I love to do, and because it can feel so daunting. Oh my goodness, how am I going to write a lifestyle newsletter? What do I have to say? So I want to tell you what I do, and then I want you to take it and kind of transform it into your world. So I literally sit down, and Claude has outdone ChatGPT on my newsletters. Like, there's not even a comparison here. But I sit down and I always try to start with a story. Okay, what is a story I could tell that was like a teaching moment or a lesson learned or an aha moment that I've had recently? And I'll just type it out. It doesn't need to be perfect. I just kind of share it with my AI and say, I want this to be the intro. And then I next will move into various things. And I'll literally ask AI, say, I want you to look at podcast industry updates. And I want you to find something interesting that my audience needs to know, because I trained it on who my audience is, right? So I kind of leave it in the hands of Claude, and I say, find something interesting that you can summarize that can be beneficial to teach my audience or to keep them up to date on industry updates or metrics or anything like that, right? So I give it that. And then the next one I go into is, again, I start to ask myself, like, are there any upcoming events that my audience needs to know about? Am I using a new platform that I have to share with them? Or I might even share something I have going on. So right now I kind of am in the middle of launching my quiz, right? So that's definitely going to be part of what I'm sharing. So that could be a section. And again, I kind of will take my landing page or any landing page if it's an event. So I've been promoting Mom's Podcasting Conference as well. And so I'll take the landing page and I'll just drop it into AI and say, please summarize this and make it, invite my reader to this event, or invite them to sign up for my new XYZ. And then I'll go, a step further. And sometimes I want to do something personal where it's like products I'm loving, or a question that came up in my mastermind that I wanted to share with you, because you might be wondering the same thing. Again, I don't type it out into fancy newsletter form. I type it out into, here you go, Claude, take this and make it pretty, make it sound like me, right? Because I've trained it on my brand. And then at the very end, I always have on the pod this week. And all I do for that is literally I take the transcript, I drop it in, and I say, summarize this. This literally helps me so much because I love sending my newsletters out. It's like my favorite part of everything I do, which is funny, but I love that touch point with my newsletter subscribers, and my open rates are phenomenal, anywhere from, 45 to 65% every single week. And I want to make sure that I'm not getting dull and I'm not getting boring. And I don't know everything about everything in my industry, right? I try and keep up, but I miss things too. So this is such a great way for AI to help me without me sitting there and spending hours trying to figure out something interesting to say. And then this composes my lifestyle newsletter, right? So it basically spits something out. I definitely go back and I change a few things up, but it makes my life so much easier for me to give permission, especially in like the industry in insights or lessons learned or things like that. Like, I can hand it over and it can give me something really interesting. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm like, no, that's not really what I want to talk about in my newsletter, or that's not really interesting. Let's try again. But majority of the time, I do feel like Claude has been catching really good, juicy things to share with my audience. So that's what I love to do with my newsletters. It saves me time, and you know how I feel about newsletters. So if you're skipping it, this is how you do it. This is how you do it for sure. All right, up next. Tracking and analyzing your podcast metrics. Okay, this is a really exciting one because and you know this if you've been with me, I really think it's important that we're always paying attention to our metrics. We're always analyzing them deeper than just looking at our hosting platform and saying, oh, my downloads are saying this. Oh, my podcast is failing, or this or that. Like, there's so much more we can be doing. If you have worked with me, you know I've gone into detail on various metrics that I prefer to track. In fact, scroll back a few episodes, you'll probably find one where I talk about metrics. But what I want to say is Claude does something really cool that can help you track these without even having to go in and track. So one, I will say, okay, if you do like ChatGPT, you can still have it analyze your metrics. But to my knowledge, unless I'm totally wrong, and I might be, it won't log into Apple Connect, Spotify for Creators, and your hosting platform and pull all that data for you so that you don't have to. But you can do that manually, and then you can certainly upload it from time to time. Maybe you do this monthly or quarterly, and you can ask ChatGPT, what are you seeing here? What's happening? What episodes are doing well? Which ones aren't? You can even ask it like industry averages, like how is my podcast comparatively in my, category? Am I growing in the right direction? So you could certainly do that. Now, for Claude, what you can do, and this is really neat, and I want to give a shout out to my amazing client for sharing this with me. So in Claude, you want to do the co-work option. And from there, because on your computer, you can be logged into Apple Connect, Spotify for Creators, and your hosting platform. I'll just say Captivate because that's mine, right? Just for the example of this episode. And so you want to be logged in on your computer. You can actually go in and train Claude to go in by itself without you and pull all those metrics. And so the way I do it is I have a podcast, metrics sheet set up in Google Sheets. And so you can go in and you can train your cowork in Claude to basically pull these metrics and plop them into that grid for you. And so you don't have to do this. And the reason that I love this and I'm so excited about this is because it falls to the wayside so easily. I'm like, every Monday, sit down and pull your metrics, pull your email metrics, stuff like that. Pull your, get a clear view on what's going on, what happened last week. But I see it with clients all the time that say, oh, I haven't done that for 4 weeks. Oh, I haven't done that for a couple months. And I get it, right? It's not sexy to do this, but the data we get is sexy. So if we can say to Claude, take that task. This is how you do it. Train it. Literally go into Apple Connect and say, I want you to pull this metric and this metric. Go into Captivate, pull these metrics, put them in these columns and rows every single week, every Monday, whatever. And there is a way that you can set this up to manually fire to do every Monday morning. Okay. So this is amazing, right? This is so nice to have done because then we can have a high level overview of what's happening without us manually going in, and it saves us time. So, to be honest, I hope to do some sort of a training for you eventually with all of this so that you can see it a little bit more. Cause of course there's a learning curve to it. But anyway, shout out to my client for sharing that with me. That has been life-changing, transformational, and I'm super excited to bring more things like that to you. So that is something so that we can do. And on top of that, now Claude is doing this for us every week, right? Now we can just simply ask, hey, go in, analyze my metrics. What's happening? Can you give me a report? Every Monday, give me a report of what's happening, how that episode performed comparatively to other ones. So there's a lot of benefits, a lot of opportunity here that we can be automating. And that is so nice, so exciting. Okay, so Number 5, and this is kind of cool. We all know we can use AI for social media, so I'm not going to go into that specifically, but I want to give you a unique perspective into using it to create interesting content that you can turn into social media or Pinterest or a newsletter bit or something like that. And so that is, if you can get all your transcripts in one place for your show and give that to Claude, Claude can actually go in and act as almost like an AI assistant that can read those files, right? It can read through all of your transcripts. And then not only is this going to help it be more on brand for you, right? It's going to know your voice better, but you can start asking really unique questions like, review all my guest scripts and identify 5 things that they seem to disagree on within a common industry, wisdom or something like that. When it comes back to you with that, not only could this be something that you could address as an episode, but it could also be something you could use on social media or in your newsletter or on a Pinterest post. Like, there's so much opportunity for it to analyze what's happening inside of your transcripts, right? You can even go in and upload all of your transcripts to the file, have it analyze it and say, what am I missing here? What haven't I talked about? What are 10 episodes that are very aligned with what I usually talk about, but I'm missing, or I can take deeper, or things like that. That way, we can literally play off the content we've created and create more of it. What you could also do is, because Claude has taken and analyzed your metrics, you can say, review the transcripts that do the best and tell me what commonalities you're seeing there. Or what are, 10 other episodes I could spin off of these that would also perform well. So it's kind of exciting to think about if you can just get your transcripts, put them all into one local file or something that it can pull from, and then it can take it from there and really give you so much support, so much guidance, things like that. So I know that there's like 1,000,001 ways we can dive into using AI, but these are some that are really exciting that can, again, make our podcast better, make our marketing plan better for our podcast, and also simplify our workload, make us smarter about the content we're creating without guessing into the void. And so I hope you take these and I hope you love them. I'm excited to continue to, explore and use AI more as a podcaster, as a podcast coach. And of course, I'll be sharing all of that with you. And so if you have any questions, please reach out. You can always email me. But thank you for being here. I'm really excited for where this industry is headed and how, AI can support us in a way that doesn't feel boring or just like very surface level. And I will see you next week. So if you're not on my newsletter, be sure you are. You can go to podcastmarketinghub.com/subscribe. But I will see you next week.